Hi, I'm Train Room Gary, and today I'll be at the workbench showing you how to wire Miller Engineering animated signs. After we're done at the workbench, we'll go over to the layout, set it up, and make it work. Train Room Gary production. Cheers from Michigan. Alright, here's a close-up of the sign I'll be installing. And I just dimmed the lights a little bit down, but actually you can see the peanuts are pouring out of this. Looks pretty cool. So my plan is to do 4 of these on a layout and see how that comes out. But I'm going up to 10. This is a how-to video from Train Room Gary's workbench. Hello, fellow model railroaders. Today I'm down at the workbench and I'm working on Miller Engineering electric neon lights. What you get here is, this is the neon light. It's a cable that goes to a circuit board and a battery pack. I'm going to cut these wires off of here and attach it to one of these screws. This is also from Miller Engineering. And in this box here, you get the number 4803 power supply. And this is good up to 10 signs. And this thing plugs into here. And this is going to go under the table. This will be under the table. And I'll have to drill a small hole for the black and red wires. And this will all be hidden inside the building. So I got to cut a slot up here in the roof. This is going to be an old coaling station for this sign. I might end up putting 2 here. One here, one down this side. I'm going to get ready to take this roof apart. Got my saw ready. I'm going to cut into that and cut a slot. And then along with the Dremel tool, help clear it out a little bit. All right, here's a close-up of the sign I'll be installing. And I just dimmed the lights a little bit down, but actually you can see the peanuts are pouring out of this. Looks pretty cool. So my plan is to do 4 of these on a layout and see how that comes out. But I'm going up to 10 with the transformer and that board here to screw them into. What I'm going to do now is take the Dremel tool, and on the side that goes against the sign there's some rough spots on it. Just kind of knock these spurs off. Just gently hit that. Probably take a sanding block to do the same thing. I like power tools, so kind of clean it off nice. I also put some wax paper down so I don't get glue on my cutting board. Alright, now I'm going to get the epoxy mixed up. This is 5-minute epoxy. What I do is I keep my epoxy in this little plastic cups you buy chocolate milk in. And keeps it always, you know, when you need it, it's ready to go. Once you sit upright, you gotta fight it all the time. Alright, let's give it a try. Got the sign here ready. And I'm just going to put a bead along this one edge that's going to go against the sign. And stick that on the outer side of the sign. All I did here was I put this bottle of super glue here to help hold it flat. And as epoxy dries, I'm just kind of tapping these, make sure they stay in position. And look at the toothpick where I mixed the glue, it's getting hard. But by putting that bottle of glue in the middle, it helps keep the sign flat. We got the Planters peanut sign up and running on top of the coaling station, which is now abandoned. Let's dim the lights and take a look. Okay, I'm still at the workbench, and I now have Planters peanuts up there and Morton salt. When it rains, it pours. And once again, just take a pan down here and take a look at what we got. And there it's all hooked up. Transformer, I like to call it the bus bar or lockdown screws, whatever. But that's how it's going to be done. All this here, this stuff here will be under the table, along with the transformer. All these wires here won't be showing. They'll all be hidden. I'll have a hole right underneath the building. Go to this, and then I'll have 2 signs on this old abandoned coal house. And I eventually want to do 4, so I got room up to 10 according to Miller Engineering. So next step is let's take it over to the layout and drill some holes and set it up. And the last thing I do before I put this to the layout is I made these little tags here. This one says Planters, and over here we got Morton. So when I get back to this block under the table, I know what wires for what sign. If I ever got to do any repairs, I don't have to play hide and go seek. So I always add these little paper tags to my wires. So underneath my layout, there's all kinds of little tags like this saying what wire does what. Alright, last thing you got to do is add these 4 spacers. So I'm just going to take a little bit of epoxy and just dab these so they'll stay in place. I don't have to get underneath the table and fight these things falling off while I'm trying to screw this board to a piece of wood under the table. So this is pretty simple. Just get your 4 spacers, add a little epoxy to it, set them on there, and that just makes them sticky enough to stay where they won't fall off during the screwing process of putting these. Miller gives you these 4 screws to use and the 4 spacers. So I'm just going to put the 4 spacers on, let this dry. Next step will be under the table, screwing this to my control panel under the table. And put that one on there. Make sure it's not blocking the holes. And one more. And you guys get the idea. All we're trying to do is make this so when I go to put this and mount this, these spacers don't fall off because I don't feel like chasing them around under the table. So as you get older, you think of these little things to make the job easier. Put a little pressure on that, let that sit for about 30 minutes. And I'll get it to the table and then mount the board and wire this building up. Alright, just now finished installing the Miller Engineering power strip, and below that they give you a little piece of paper to keep track of what's going where. But right now I only have 2 signs. Eventually I'm going to have 4, and maybe someday 10, but right now I'm going to start with 2 and 4 and see how it goes. But there's the power strip done and wired. Alright, we now have the abandoned coal station on the layout next to the Sunoco tank, and let's take a look and see what it looks like. We'll dim the lights here and get the nighttime look of the Miller signs. Well, I want to thank you for watching this presentation on how to install Miller Engineering animated signs.